Hey, I'm Kev, welcome back to MotoGP 17 and the rider careers. Patrick McDonald had a tough time on his debut with Yamaha in Qatar and Argentina. Can seem to go a bit more smoothly around the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. As here goes Patrick McDonald for 2 flying laps here around the Circuit of the Americas. A track which has been kind to him in the past. Provided he doesn't fall, he has done quite a lot that round here in the past as well, and basically you do that on a MotoGP bike around this very challenging circuit, especially this first sector where you expect Patrick McDonald to be pretty quick, but as you can see, if you get out of the rhythm you cost yourself loads of time though, so you've got to be inch perfect, especially when you're battling someone in that sector, otherwise time penalties will become a factor. Goes into for Patrick McDonald so far. Nice smooth banker lap. Like so, America's one of those few circuits which work perfectly well for cars and motorbikes as well. This, of course, this was built for the F1 American Grand Prix around 6 years ago now. But it's proved to be an equally good home for motorcycle racing in America. For 2 wheels as well. Let's go into this very tricky left-hander. Got to really watch out for that curb and see camber kind of takes that rear wheel away on the exit, so you've got to be very careful on the power, especially with tyre wear in the race, as we saw in Argentina. It went to hell on a handbasket on that final lap. It was terrible for Patrick McDonald. He would have got a solid top 10, even battling for a top 5. Even with mistakes, if he just had tyres on that final lap. Unfortunately, he didn't, as he had a pretty good battle with Jorge Lorenzo, though, in the Ducati. Well, it's a very disappointing end for Patrick McDonald, chucking points away when she can't afford to do at this level. Whereas a total 2.6, that's a decent first lap from Patrick McDonald. But you saw quite a few things wrong on that lap though, so he can definitely improve on this second effort. Definitely can't improve braking into that first corner though. You can see Jerez locking up again. Get on the power. Bike very tricky. Don't expect this with the Yamaha, as he's halfway through his stint on this bike, 3 or 6 races. And Patrick McDonald has been alright with it so far. Definitely loves the handling of it. As you can see, rate transfer looking pretty good in this first set. To 6/10 out despite that mistake into the first corner. So you can definitely be close to a 2-minute barrier, which you would require to be right up there. As, he survives going over the curve through the kink. Just about. It goes into the hairpin. You see slightly wide, but going to power nice and early as it go down this back straight. And look at that, 7/10 now, almost 3/4 of a second faster than his previous lap time as you reach just around 210 miles per hour. You're actually even quicker than it in Argentina. It reached around 215, especially with that slipstream. Perhaps can do that in the back straight in the race. Just once again, look at this tyres just spinning from corner to corner. As there goes Bradley Smith down on the KTM. But definitely not having a hard time as that, as Nick is 1.2 seconds faster now. Going even quicker as Petrucci does the fastest lap on his Pramac. It was a fantastic race for Dinello. Last time out, top 5. The Italian definitely showing that he's a decent bet for a top 10 in the championship. Maybe even more as well. As Rodor sets the Toro 1.2, that's more like it. And that's quickest by a country mile ahead of Petrucci. Just beats out his teammate Redding through to qualifying 2 by just under 3/10 of a second. Espargaro in 4th. Bautista in the top 5. The Spaniard on a very good start to the season, and they're not making it through on his Aspar with Miller in 6th. Last in 7th, Rins down in 8th. Rabat in 9th, Barbara 10th, Abram 11th, and Espargaro, Lowe's and Smith at the back as you would expect. So what can Patrick McDonald do in qualifying 2? So here goes Patrick McDonald for his 1 effort in qualifying 2. Let's see what the Kenyan can do. Can he perhaps even grab his first pole with the Yamahas? Again, that qualifying 1 pace was very good. Repeating that line from qualifying 1, maybe going deep into that corner isn't too bad. You know, he goes a bit wide through the right-hander, but great transition through the S-bends now. Really had to compromise himself into that left-hander though. So that might have slowed him a bit through his first sector. Now he's hitting all the apexes. Oh, a bit wide in that left. In through the right-hander, down the second gear. He's got to build the revs over this crest. And then through the kink. In 4, flat out. You can see he can afford that in qualifying. Perhaps not in the race, especially with worn tyres at the end of it. So he managed to clip that apex. And the hairpin gets a nice smooth exit as halfway through this lap. It's looking good on a 3.2. If he completes the rest of the lap in around 58 seconds. Maybe in 57, they'll be right up there. I guarantee they'll be right up there. So he goes into the left hand a bit wide. That's the line you're going to be taking in the race. Don't want to be clipping that apex. That's it, as you've already seen with the camber. It's always trying to get the power down McDonald in this stadium section. Slow corners. Shame they had to put a slow section. Imagine going into this corner. Speed down that back straight. It would be incredible, but of course not very safe for modern racing. Could at least just put a chicane in. That would have been nice. As there goes Andreini down on his Suzuki. But then again, that same section does provide some good side-by-side action for the fans, which seems to be its primary motivator. So across the line with a tow 1.2 again. And as his best qualifying so far this season, leading the second round of Dovi and Pedrosa by his teammate Vinales, who grounds pole by less than half a tenth of a second ahead of Marc Marquez, with Rossi in third. And McDonald, quickest of the riders not to dip under the 2-minute 1. Bayer has, looking on the third row, got Inoni, recovered, picked his bike up. Got to 7th on his Suzuki. Not bad qualifying at all for the Italian, with Crutchlow in 8th, Sarko 9th, Lorenzo the in 4th out of Petrucci and Volga. So what can Patrick McDonald do in the race? Can he finally grab his first podium of the season? As Blue still in that second row has gone for hard in this race once again. Hopefully the tyre doesn't bite him in the arse like it did in Argentina as he looked through the field. Here's Scott Redding in the 5th row of Spargo, and Baptista Miller leading the 6th row. The usual bottom 6. As Patrick McDonald revs up the engine, waiting for the lights to appear. And go out for this 6-lap race. With a nice smooth getaway. Looking to make a move on Rossi into the first corner. And Marquez and Vinales as he goes through the middle up into the lead, is he? Side by side with Rossi, and he does. McDonald leads in America. Ahead of Rossi. Let's see who can be smooth through this first sector. Very easy to get out of that room, run wide. And oh, Rossi into the back of McDonald, and he goes down. As here comes, is that Pedrosa? Pedrosa leads. Ahead of Zarco. What's happened to the other Yamaha, Vinales? What an unusual top 3 we have here. As here goes McDonald down the inside, Pedrosa. With Dove ahead of Zarco for third. Oh, but the Frenchman fights back. He's a feisty one, isn't he? But Pedrosa getting the slipstream from McDonald. He's in the full width of the track. We're breaking into this left-hander. Nicely into the groove as now Marquez up to 4th. Where did he go in the shuffle? He just lost it. Maybe because of Rossi losing it behind. Maybe that caused a bit of a Contentino effect. Vinales went down the order as well. So here comes Pedrosa pushing McDonald wide. Oh, Danny, what are you doing? You got some fight in you today. So he tries to cut off Pedrosa. Then Pedrosa just pushes McDonald wide. Remember, McDonald with the hard tyres, so not working at optimum range yet. Oh, and looking down the inside, Pedrosa into the penultimate corner. Now it's Dobby to make a move. But then McDonald down the inside of Dovi into the final corner as you've got Pedrosa leading. Did a fast lap 203.1 on that first lap. But not the Honda you expect to be leading in America. As Marquez is incredible in America. In all classes. Nico Petrucci up to 4th ahead of Zarco, battling to be best of the satellite riders. Once again, Petrucci flying on that Pramac. You expect it around here. You want a fast bike in a straight line. And that Pramac handles pretty well, does that Ducati. Not just in Works' hands, but in Petrucci's hand as well. As you can see Pedrosa right behind. McDonald, even though they're getting now back into the lead. As McDonald would just be hoping these tyres keep up in the second half of the race. That's what he's hoping for, as all Pedrosa outbrakes himself into the hairpin, trying to make the move for the lead. As Vinales up to 4th ahead of Marquez. Once again, the young Spaniards going to war in a race. As there's the helicopter, but at least he's on the good angle this time. The back straight. It's going to be seeing lots of battles. Lots of outbreaking into that left-hander. Has Jose and Dovi battling like a hell behind. And all Vinales back down to 5th behind Marquez. Up to 4th. Don't know with that graphic. So McDonald clips the apex that time. But still just ahead of Pedrosa. He's keeping to the tail, is the veteran. There's all Jack Miller down from 23rd on his Mark VDS machine. Disappointing to see as McDonald once again just can't get the power down. Leave hard front and rear. And look at that, just spinning up the tyres again, just like in qualifying. So even though he's got pace, he's got issues, does McDonald, with the tyres again. As he dips into the 201s, 201.8, fast as that of this race. He's got almost a second gap behind to Pedrosa. He's got Dovi in 3rd. As he's making sure he's at least hitting the apex in the race into that corner. Of course, didn't accomplish that in qualifying. McDonald having a very decent race here off the back of Argentina. What about this? A return victory after that horror in Argentina in America. That would be something. He's got a long way to go, but he's got a second and a half lead over Pedrosa. Looking very good for McDonald. Tyre wear not an issue at all. Look at that in the bottom right. It's about the halfway mark of this race. You can see rear is around 10% worn. Front's around 15. It's barely any difference, front and rear. There's Dovi up to 2nd ahead of Pedrosa. There's our hope these hard tyres are up to temperature in the range and start to work for McDonald so he can get this power down. Doesn't have to be waiting on the throttle. Definitely good braking. See, taking out wider line now. Pedrosa out braking Dovi. Had done all the hard work going into the hairpin at the beginning of the straight. There's Rins down from 15th. Bradley Smith down from 23rd again for the Brit. You saw McDonald struggle like a hell to get the power down in that middle sector. And see that loses him around half a second to Pedrosa. It's again bike just understeering wide through these fast corners. A good smooth exit and then very wide in the penultimate corner. Keeping it in 3rd gear, just have that smooth acceleration out the corners, McDonald. And in the final corner, he's sort of struggling like a hell again to get the power down, but it sets another fast at 201.8, very consistent. As he go into the second half of the race, leads Pedrosa by 1.7 seconds. This is what he needed to do in Qatar, in Argentina. Was doing in Qatar until the final lap. There's Dovi up to 2nd ahead of Pedrosa. This is very good for the championship as well. For McDonald with his Yamaha teammates down the order, not on the podium, at least. Wonder where Rossi is after that first lap skirmish with McDonald. No doubt the doctor will be unhappy about that. Will be McDonald's garage after the race. This is still very much the doctor's team, his Yamaha. Despite him approaching 40. Not having won a title in ages. Almost a decade now, isn't it? For Valentino Rossi. Amazing to think it's been almost a decade after his dominance in the last decade. He won almost double-digit titles. But as you can see, McDonald with a 1.8 second lead over Dovizioso. It seems like the engine does get turned up in the race. Or at least the bikes are better working their straight line. Comfortably over 210 miles per hour before braking. Get up to third. That's it. Much smoother in this section for McDonald. As in, it's like halfway now. Tyre on the front tyre. And look at that 1.8 ahead of Dovi. Much better than that set. So lost barely any time. As he gets up to fourth over the curb on the inside. Got to be careful of the curbs. As he found out in Argentina and in Qatar. Especially in Qatar. But imagine if he had all the points he lost. He'd be right up there in the championship after this race. As he dips into the 202s. Half second slower, but still has a 2-second lead over Dovi. He's gone to penultimate lap of the race. Oh, and he goes wide. Oh, he has struggling like a hell to get on the power. But I'm fighting the tyres again on this bike. The Yamaha probably the bike which needs soft tyres. Out of the top three, your Ducati and Honda. You can see it's struggling like a hell in these harder tyres. Getting that power down, but still pace and abundance for McDonald. And you've got to watch out in Jerez next time out where you definitely have to go on the hard tyres with the tyre wear there. It could be another Argentina for McDonald in that final. You've got to be careful with the tyres, the tyre wear next time out in Spain. But here around the circuit, the America's not looking too bad. Around 3/5 of the way worn on the front, around halfway on the rear though. He's got a 2.5 second lead. He's looking comfortable. It's McDonald, but then we said that in Qatar, even though he was trying to chase down the top two, but he's looking comfortable for a podium at least. Then he made the mistake. In Argentina, looking comfortable again. He's cruising up to the back of Vinales and Marquez, but then made that mistake. And he was back then the rest of the way, and in the end that battling cost him the entire wet. And really cost him that final lap. He's got over a 2-second lead ahead of Dovi in this set, so that's not too bad. Let's go through the penultimate corner. Such a tricky corner, blind corner. Not as blind as say Austria later in the season with that left-hander in the middle sector, but again very tricky. Hit that corner right. Small with another 202.3. He's very consistent and ekes out that lead over Dovi to 2.3 seconds across the line. As we're on the final out of the race now. And what a ride from McDonald. What an answer after the disappointment of Argentina. A ride like this. It's like Qatar, but with a better start. And just with better management. Even though he didn't have the outright pace like he had in Qatar. And I will find out at the end of the race. Maybe he did. As he is able to ease away from Dovi. Look at that 3-second lead now. Out of the first sector. As he climbs the hill. And they'll go down through the kink. Definitely lifted that time just to be smooth. As he goes out of the hairpin. As Vinales up to third ahead of Pedrosa. He's onto the podium, but Danny's fighting back. The veteran wants that podium on his Honda. It's Dovi 2.1 seconds behind McDonald. With just half a lap to go. Still looking comfortable enough for the Yamaha man. He's again taking that wide line in the left hand. And look at that Vinales back past Pedrosa. As there you go, very smooth on the power now in this section. Short shifting up to third gear definitely does help though. And the exit of that section, 1.8 ahead of Dovi. The Italian's gaining on his final lap. but probably too little too late for him. So he goes into the final couple of corners. What a win from Patrick McDonald as he goes out the final corner and takes his debut win on the Yamaha against the toughest opponents as well. What a ride! As he won by just under 2 cents ahead of Dovi. Vinales recovered to third to the podium. That's bad news for Patrick McDonald, with Jerez in 4th, Petrucci 5th, Sarko 6th, Marquez down in 7th, Renzo 8th, Rossi in 9th, recovered to a top 10 position. Great job from the Italian, with Crutchlow in 10th, Vino in 11th, Fred in 12th, Folger 13th. McDonald also did the fastest, that's the only guy into the 201s. And we've got Hector Barber in 4th, ahead of his teammate Baz. What about they head? So we're just half a second at the line, with Alicia Spargo missing out on the Aprilia of grabbing a point. So did Alvaro Bautista for the first time this season. Samuel's in 18th, or about 19th. While Spargo ran out of top 20 on his KTM, his teammate Bradley Smith was at the back. So in the championship, McDonald back into the top 5. 20 points behind his teammate Vinales. He takes over the championship lead by 5 points ahead of Rossi, with Dovi up to 3rd, just 8 points behind the top Yamaha, with Marquez down to 4th, 15 points back and just 5 points ahead of Patrick McDonald, with Petrucci in 6th still, 9 points behind the top 5 and a single point ahead of Johan Zarco. What a battle they are having already between the satellite riders to be the top satellite rider in the standings, with Lorenzo down to 8th. Pedrosa are up to 9th ahead of Iannone after a superb race for the veteran. And you've got Crutcher up to 11th ahead of Redding. And Folger up to 15th ahead of Miller, Rind and Baz. As in the constructors standings, Ducati up to 2nd ahead of Honda by 3 points, while Yamaha make it 3 from 3. With Suzuki in 4th, Aprilia 5th and KTM yet to score. As in the team's rankings, look at that. The Yamaha team with 3 riders, almost double the points of Ducati, with Honda in 3rd, Pramac in 4th, Tech 3 5th, Suzuki 6th, LCR 7th, Aspar 8th, Aprilia 9th, Avinti up into the top 10 by a single point ahead of Mark VDS, and KTM at the bottom. And yeah, so very happy Patrick McDonald to grab his first podium of the season and his first win with Yamaha. Definitely some partying. American style will be happening as we head to Spain in the first visit of the season to the country and the Circuit de Jerez. Can Patrick McDonald back up this victory with another fantastic result? So here goes Patrick McDonald for his 2 laps here in Spain on this very technical Jerez circuit. Rider's favourite, a fan favourite. Spanish Motorcycle Grand Prix. It's definitely one of the best on the calendar. And we'll see what the Yamaha can do around it. Not normally a good bike round here. When Patrick McDonald's hands, you never know. As he showed last time out and the circuit of the Americas. What a race that was for him. Let's see if we can make it a double in this episode. Goes over that curb on the inside, gets a nice smooth run onto this back straight, heading towards the Curve de Sol. Not Curve de Sol. Curve de Sac. Cul de Sac corner. There been over 20 years ago. F1 had one of his most infamous moments. Let's see if Motorcycle Racing have one of its as well in the race as we go through the left hand. No doubt there'll be a dive bomb or two heading into that corner. So that's something that Patrick McDonald's got to look out for in the race. But he had to do that in Kota as well, battling Pedrosa and Dovi. Managed to hold them off though. After an early incident with Rossi, he definitely had the hairdryer treatment from the Italian. Let's see if they race any differently here. And then Vinales salvaging a podium on that final lap ahead of Pedrosa. What a heartbreak for the Spaniard, who's running in 2nd for most of that race. And then drop back behind the Ducati and then the Yamaha at the end. So that's 36.5. That's not too bad. A banker lap. Perhaps preferably want to be in the 35s though for McDonald. Let's see if we can get that second improvement like it happened in Kota this time around. As he come off his best qualifying as well. Looking to do better, get on the front row for the first time this season. And that's not a bad first set, it's slightly slower. Let's see if we can ratchet up the speed though, going on to the back straight, running wide though, over the curb. Getting that front wheel in the air. And that's cost him half a second. And he outbrakes himself. I think he can give up on this, as it was still good enough to make sure he went through at the top in qualifying, ahead of Alicia Spargo in his home race on the Aprilia, returning to form ahead of Jonas Folger on the Tech 3. Don't even say that for the Yamaha to not make it through, with Redding in 4th, Baptista in 5th, Miller in 6th, Bass 7th, Rins 8th, you know the rest. So what can Patrick McDonald do in qualifying to go and grab that first front row start of the season? So here goes Patrick McDonald for his one effort in qualifying 2. Got to nail the braking into this first corner, very tricky uphill. And brake sometimes a bit deeper than you think. And you have to brake a bit into this right hander, but he runs wide. The rear ain't getting out as he breaks down. That's already one mistake on a lap, which had to be mistakeless, be as flawless as possible. So a poor first sector from McDonald, and again the rear escaping, heading into the right-hander. He's going to have more of that in the race with the hard tyres front and rear, just like in the Circuit of the Americas. Somehow he made it work there. Around a much trickier circuit, tyre-wise, for Yamaha. And for McDonald, where the tyres are being asked a lot here. Around Kota, you've got some breathing room, but you don't have much of that here. It's going to be much tougher for McDonald on this Yamaha. Gets the rear end out. And into the right hand, away too much curb. So messy this lap. As he goes into the final sector, in this double right. Attacking the first. Attacking the second. That's pretty good. Now into the final corner. Jorge Lorenzo turn. As he goes out of the hairpin. And heading towards the line. Is it a 35? No. It's just disappointment for McDonald. He leads the 4th ahead of Petrucci and Espargo. With Vinales down in 7th on the Yamaha. I told you this is not a Yamaha circuit. Ahead of Zarco and Iannone. Rossi in 6th behind Crutcho, and Lorenzo in 4th. Great qualifying for the Spaniard around the circuit he's very good at. While it's his fellow Spaniard Marquez who grabs pole ahead of his teammate Pedrosa by less than a tenth of a second, with Dovi rounding out the front row. So what can Patrick McDonald do from 10th? Podium will be a great result. So here we are looking at the grid with a couple of Spaniards at the top and leading the second row. I'm sure the home crowd are very happy with Vinales in the 3rd row. Then Blue still leading the 4th. With Spogo on that row. You got Spaniards on every row. There's so many in the field. That's McDonald revs like the engine rate for lights up here. And go out for this 7-lap race. Decent start. And get up to second gear. Lost some momentum. But he's looking down the inside of Iannone into the first corner. Oh, and down goes the Italian. And here comes Petrucci with another super start on his Premac. That means McDonald can't make the move on his teammate Vinales as he slots into 9th. Disappointing, only made up one position. Needed to make up a few more. If he wants to make an impression on this race, he's got Alicia Spargo behind in 10th. Let's go down this back straight. Nice and smooth on the power as Lorenzo up to 5th ahead of Crutcho. But look at this momentum. Is Crutcho really losing out? Now behind McDonald as McDonald tries to make the move on Lorenzo. Well, Vinales does as well. And there goes McDonald past his teammate up into 5th behind Rossi now. Yamaha's 4th, 5th, 6th. As he got, it looks like the Honda's leading. And Dovi. So your front row still there in the top 3. So making sure he's hitting both of the apexes in that right-hander. He's got Petrucci up to 7th ahead of Lorenzo. Danilo with another stormer on the opening lap. So it survives the second right-hander, slight clip in the curb. And almost into the back of Rossi, heading into the final corner. As you can see, he has to be very careful getting the power down, but he's got a superb slipstream as Rossi runs wide. As to go on to the second lap, sticking to the outside of the Italian, then the inside. No room to move though. Oh, but he's got the inside into the right-hander. Chops in front, up into fourth. Oh, but Rossi gets him back on the exit of the left hand. Oh no, almost touching into the next left. The gloves are definitely off between Rossi and McDonald. Teammates going to war again. In Jerez. That's on McDonald not getting a good run onto the back straight though. He wants to be making a dive into this right hand hairpin, and he does. Rossi gives him the room. McDonald now the top Yamaha in fourth. We're looking to chase down the Hondas and the Ducati in front. And maybe Rossi will give him some nightmares though. He'll be fighting back. We will see. So he's wide into the right hander. That will allow Rossi to make the move. Oh, but Rossi doesn't. Sticks behind. Respect from the veteran. He's got over a second gap to make up in front. As we go through the double right. Again, bit wide everywhere for McDonald. These hard tyres not working again. The opening couple of laps. But he's making a move on his teammate, and so is Vinales. We've got Pedrosa up to second. Behind his teammate Marquez, he sets the fastest lap, 36.2. McDonald just a 37. 1.3 behind the podium places. But as you saw, Vinales got swallowed up, or Rossi got swallowed up there, down to 7th behind Lorenzo, his former teammate. No love lost there. Got Vinales up to 5th though, behind McDonald. We're looking to get a smooth exit here onto the back straight. Let's hope their hard tyres are starting to work now for McDonald. Get up to temperature. As he gained a 10th there in that sector. 6/10 ahead of Vinales, who's battling with Lorenzo behind. Ducati working well around this circuit. Especially on the Hondas though. First and second for Pedrosa and Marquez. Someone would have to brake a bit earlier into a couple of corners just so he can hit the apexes, not run wide like into that second right-hander. But he's keeping up the speed with the front runners. He's going to the first of these fast right-handers. Now the second, gets on the power early. Now into the final corner. Try not to drift wide. Hook up that apex like your favourite granny. Or hug it as your favourite granny. And get on to the fourth lap. 36.5, much better that time from McDonald, but it's just matching the leaders. As Jerez are starting to make a gap on Dovi. As Lorenzo ahead of Vinales for 5th. This is very good for McDonald as well. Help build that gap behind as they battle behind. And he's gaining on Dovi in his first sector. Less than a second behind for the first time. He's go through the line right and then over a second gap behind to the Renz. Oh, it's getting on that power. Front end just sliding. That's around halfway through this race. You can see around half of that rear tyre's worn. It's more very good braking into that hairpin though. It's all over the back of Dovi now. Podium definitely within reach again for the Yamaha rider. And the only Yamaha rider who's making it work here in Spain. They're all over Dovi. Through the double right in the second. Come on, McDonald. Got to be hitting those apexes. You want to be making moves onto the podium. If you even want to chase down Marquez, I know it's on a Nike tire. It's got to be hitting every apex. Can't be run wide anywhere. As he breaks very deep into the final corner. Almost into the back of Dovi, who runs wide. And that allows McDonald in front. He's going to the first corner, 35.9. Breaks himself into the first corner. Well, Dovi back down the inside with it. Now McDonald back down the inside into the right-hander. And holds it ahead of Ducati. So onto the podium for McDonald. Now he's got to be chasing down Pedrosa for second. Upset this Honda party. At the front, but he's got a 1.4 second gap in front to the Repsol Honda rider. To the veteran Pedrosa. He rode pretty well in America, but then fell back in the second half of the race. We'd all be hoping the same happens here. Jerez is one of Danny's circuits where he's very strong. We're expecting to be very strong right to the flag here as well. Unlike in Kota. Well, so he doesn't have Vinales to hunt him down on the Yamaha. This time it's McDonald. As Dovi falling back on the Ducati. Again, unlike in America where Dovi kept the speed up. But he's still right behind McDonald. By a couple of tenths and running wide. And that first right-hander. Come on, McDonald. Got to hit all the apexes, remember. Especially if he wants to make up this 1.5 second gap in front. Nice and smooth on the power though, leading on to start finish straight and on to the penultimate lap of the race. 36.6, that's a disappointing that time. Not to get dipping into the 35s, but he's just 1.2 behind. Pedrosi's gained a few tenths. That final sector. You can see the tyres starting to really wear. Around third left on the front and rear. And that's with almost 2 laps to go. This is going to be a poor final lap again for McDonald. You can just tell. As he's building a gap behind on Dovi though. By 6 tenths, and no wonder the bike is kind of going wide everywhere. And look at that front tyre compared to the rear. Wearing a bit more. And the gap to Pedrosa remains solid. 1.5 seconds. So got to be careful of sliding everywhere. Not hitting all these apexes. It's just when he's got it clear air and wants to hunt down the Honda. Once again, the tyres are the bane of the Yamaha's existence. He's going to the right-hander. Into the second right, a bit wide again. Look at 1.7 behind Pedrosa. Luckily, Dovi behind's falling back as well. Over 3/4 of a second behind. The Yamaha. Let's go through the double right for the penultimate time. Then into the final corner. Braking has been very good on this Yamaha all race long. Not getting on the power though. He's gone to the final out of the race. Dipped into the 37s. Very poor that time for McDonald. Like I said, it's just going to be worse on this final lap. Look at that into the first corner. Braking and the bike just is not having it at all. Just look at that front tyre. Absolutely abysmal. And this is the sector where McDonald's perhaps strongest as well in that first sector. Want to be making time on Pedrosa, but look at this running wide everywhere. Just can't get the power down. But he's got an almost second gap behind to Dovi. Gain time on him at least. But over 2 seconds behind Pedrosa. He's got half of that to go. Helicopter hovering for some dive bombs on this final lap. Definitely not going to be happening at the front. That's a good sector though from McDonald, even though it's basically just one corner and a straight. That's again wide into that left-hander. Bike's just not getting in the corner how he would like. And maybe that's McDonald's strength as well, getting that bike in towards the apex. They're able to slide us. Oh, Pedrosa down in front from second. You don't often see that from Danny making mistakes like that, as Marcus got a 4-second lead. And now has McDonald inherited a second place here. What a podium, what a result this would be from 10th on the grid. Just one corner to go for the Yamaha rider. He'll be inching out of this on the throttle handle. And he is going to grab second. What a result. But what a mistake from Pedrosa. As he got Dovi in third. And it's like Lorenzo in fourth behind his teammate. What a result for Ducati with Vinales rounding out top 5. Petrucci in 6th, once again fantastic on the Pramac. As we got Rossi in 7th. McDonald did the fastest lap as well. The only guy into the 35. So definitely had pace that race. Just the tyres didn't work with him once again. As we got Zarco in 8th. Pedrosa down to 9th in the end after running in 2nd for so much of that race. Just like in Kota again. Falling back on that final lap out of a podium position. With Crutcher in 10th. Redding 11th. Espargaro 12th. Folger 13th. Bautista back into the points in 14th. And Jack Miller grabbing the final point by just over a 10th of a second ahead of Loris Baz with Bradley Smith at the back. So in the championship, McDonald remains in 5th place, but look how close it is between the top 5. He's 11 points back in 5th after 4 races. Imagine all those points he lost as well. He could be leading the championship after this race, but instead he is 11 points behind his teammate Vinales, who still leads the championship by a single point ahead of Marquez after his victory. He's up to 2nd, ahead of Dovi, who's still in 3rd but 3 points back now, and Rossi down to 4th but 7 points back. Incredibly close once again at the top of the MotoGP Championship, with Lorenzo up to 6th ahead of Petrucci, who's got a gap of 3 points now on Zarco, who's down to 8th. Pedrosa in 9th. Crutcher up into the top 10 ahead of Iannone, who had a non-point score to the Italian on that Suzuki. He fell apart in that race. With Redding in 12th. Espargaro up to 13th ahead of Bautista, with Paul Espargaro at the back. And then we've got Yamaha. The unbeaten run to the start of the season is over, but still 2nd place for McDonald means they lead by 24 points ahead of Honda, who grabbed back 2nd in the championship, ahead of Ducati by 6 points, with Suzuki in 4th, Aprilia 5th, KTM in 6th. Then in the team's rankings, 82-point lead for Yamaha over Ducati. Had a superb race. They were 7 points ahead of Honda. Then you got Pramac in for 14 points ahead of Tech 3 now, with Suzuki in 6th, LCR in 7th. Aprilia Cassini up to 8th ahead of Aspar. Mark VDS into the top 10 ahead of Vinci, despite being tied on points. And in the factory KTM effort at the back. So a pretty happy McDonald with 2nd place. Around not a Yamaha track, and being gifted that place at the end as, yeah, the bike just wasn't there for the victory, but still very happy, I think, with that result, as Marquez and Dovi exchange notes in the background. So what an episode for Patrick McDonald. Definitely came alive on the Yamaha despite tyre worries in both of those races, but unlike in Argentina, he managed to keep it together and grab fantastic results and really launch himself into this championship battle. Despite my warnings in Argentina that perhaps he was already too far back, thanks to the troubles of his teammates, he's right up there once again. So can he actually ascend to the top of the standings round the Bugatti circuit in the morning France, or maybe after the Italian race in Mugello? Find out next time. So for watching, and I'll see you then.